Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Your audio is loud, good to go.
Okay, let me just turn it down a hair. How's this? Is that
That's fine, that's fine.
okay?
So it's good to meet you, Staggerson.
Good to meet you, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's good to have you on too. Glad we have an opportunity to have this discussion today. So
Yeah, looking forward to it.
yeah, it should be good. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Um, like, what do you want to know?
Well, any interest? What brings you to want to discuss the issue? For instance, I find things like that pretty interesting just to know.
Oh yeah, evolution's one of my favorite topics. Much like you, I have a YouTube presence that is about this sort of thing, right? But I'm on the opposite end. I have an atheist channel where I talk about the Earth is round and vaccines work and evolution is real and this sort of thing.
That's cool. I'll put your link in here as soon as we're done with the broadcast. Just make sure I've got your link, and we will stick it in here. Okay?
Sounds good. Oh, was that? Did I do that? I'm
Yeah.
having a little bit of a weird situation going on here. Hold on.
Oh, that's cool.
What is going on? Why can't you see me anymore? Oh, because.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm using my virtual camera because I'm streaming at the same time and I'm having some issues getting it to work right.
That's cool. That's
So
cool.
I probably just won't have your face on. Actually, no, I can add a window capture and just capture your face. Give me just 1 second here.
That's cool. Take your time. Yeah, I'm working with. I had a channel going about 5 years ago, and it was taken down about 2 years ago because for some reason they found political speech to be quote unquote hate speech, and it was reported by a bunch of people, and they took it down. Believe it or not, what it was about was I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm neither one. I guess you could call a libertarian, and I think that both sides of the aisle are have a criminal element within them that have been running them for years. And I was calling for both sides of the aisle to have their day in court. The Clinton family, the Bush family, and over a number of things that if I would have done, I would be in prison long ago.
Right. Yeah.
So, I brought out those facts, and mine was a religious political channel. And because of that, man, I guess people, there was a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that didn't like that and called it hate speech. I find that ridiculous, but so be it. So this is a new channel. I was out of it for a while. I'm working with all new stuff and new programs, new equipment. So I run across a lot of the same issues.
Yeah, I'd probably tend to agree with you on that political stuff. I think there's a lot of problems with crime and politics as far as all
Yeah.
that goes.
Anytime you're a lifetime politician, there's bound to be corruption.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. Yeah. Same with the police.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I agree there too.
It's almost like they self-select for bad people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a job
Well,
that
if,
just attracts the best and worst people, but the best people don't tend to last.
right. They tend to get drummed out and or corrupted, so and then the people that are in power tend to promote those that are going to cover their asses for them.
Right.
So okay, brother, you about ready for this?
Sure thing, man.
Okay, well, give me a second here, and I'm going to drop us both out and start the intro, and then I'll bring us both back in during the intro, and that won't mess up your settings, right? It
Shouldn't.
shouldn't.
No.
Okay. Okay. If it does, you'll have time. I won't just rush you into anything.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
still trying to sort this all out.
okay. Well, maybe we can do this without dropping you out. Go right ahead and just keep sorting, my friend.
Yep. Do what you gotta do. I'll still be here.
Okay. Discussion and debate. Atheism, evolution, Bible study, prophecy, and doctrine. Social issues and everything Christian. These are hot topics with your host Eric, aka Wolfbitn. Welcome. And hello, this is Eric, aka Wolfbitn, and with me, I have a very special guest, Mr. Staggerson Jagz. How you doing today, buddy?
Pretty good. Nice to meet you. How y'all doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And it's very nice having you on. Just so everybody knows what's going on, we're going to have a discussion today. As you know, well, some of you will know, I have kind of an open mic policy, and I enjoy bringing people on that just have things that they want to discuss, and or even debate. And Staggerson Jagz here emailed me and said that he would like to come on, and he had answered one of my videos regarding evolution, and he would like to have a discussion / debate on the topic of evolution. So I got in contact with him after he contacted me, and we set up this date, this time, and here we are, and it's high noon. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Excited to get into the conversation here.
I am too. So, Staggerson has a channel, a YouTube channel. We're going to put it into the comments as soon as this is done, and in the description. So, I'd like everybody, if you're on his side of the aisle, pro evolution, you can look him up there. Or if you're on my side of the aisle and you just want to talk to him, you can check out his channel. So, Staggerson, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, whatever you think is interesting, and we'll go ahead and get her started then.
I'm an atheist. I'm an American. I'm 38 years old. I'm not college educated, but I am a science enthusiast, and I am very bad at OBS and finding it absolutely impossible to figure out how to get your face on my screen. So I have to apologize. You won't be showing up your face on my screen because I'm just having too much technical issues with that. I apologize for that. I've tried 100 different things that I thought would work, and it keeps giving me an infinite regression of the camera. So I'm a little bit of a boomer about it today.
That's okay, my friend. That's okay. Yeah, I have plenty of issues myself at times, so don't let that worry you. So you're on the opposite end. I am the procreation, anti-evolutionist. You are the anti-creationist, the pro-evolutionist. And what brings you to your stance today?
I just find the mountains of evidence for evolution to be incredibly compelling and much more convincing than the ideas pushed by creationists. I don't see any evidence for any gods or any need for them.
I can understand why someone. May I ask, how long have you been studying this by chance? Because the reason that I ask, I'm like you. I'm no scientist. I don't have any degrees, but I am a science enthusiast. I enjoy science. I love science of every stripe. And so, how long have you been looking into this? Just out of curiosity.
Most of my adult life, I've been interested in it, but it's only recently, within the past, say, 5 years, that I've come to understand better epistemological methods of finding the truth. Um, I wasn't a very good critical thinker earlier in my life. I remember thinking that not understanding how tigers could have evolved stripes without some kind of guidance, but now I understand that a little bit better. So I've been interested in it most of my life, but I learn more and more as time goes on, and my positions evolve and change.
Yeah. Folks, I want you guys to know something out there that are listening. Just because two people disagree on a matter doesn't mean that they have to be adversarial. As you can see, we have no problem at all having just a normal, friendly discussion, even about our difference. But also, we have a little bit in common. We were talking a little bit before we started here about politics, and we have some of the same convictions regarding politics. So I find that interesting. So, not everybody agrees on everything, but not everybody disagrees on everything either. And I think that's an interesting phenomenon that people become so adversarial over any particular issue. And it's nice to be able to just sit down and discuss differences of opinion. And I notice you're lighting up. I would have done that a year ago. And I was hospitalized last May with 8 different critical heart and lung issues. So that I had to be treated for. 8, man, 8. My doctors didn't think I would get out of the hospital, but here I am, thank God. So, uh,
Well,
but
I'm not going to get any older, so I'm not worried about
yeah,
it.
well, I used to have that opinion too. But at any rate, I'm just going to let you. I'm going to give you the first few minutes here to open this up any way you want to open it and take it anywhere you want to take it. So go ahead and make yourself at home.
Okay, well, I guess the main reason I believe in evolution is it just seems like the best explanation for the diversity of life on Earth. And there's just mountains of evidence of it. You know, people like to say we've never observed it happening, but that's just not true. We actually have. We observe it happening all the time. We're observing it happen right now in the middle of everything that's going on in the world as new variants of things come out. There's more evidence for evolution than there is that the Earth goes around the sun. So of all the things, I'm more likely to believe the Earth is flat than I am to not believe in evolution. It's one of the hardest facts in my brain. I don't even consider it a question. It's not a question, really. I mean, we have fossils, mountains of fossil evidence. We have tons of genetic evidence, parallels of language evolution and stuff like that. That it all just makes sense. And there's no, people like to talk about missing links and stuff like that. No scientist uses the words missing link. That's not a thing in science. There's no missing links. They've got pretty well attached all the links, and even if you don't know anything about genetic evolution or anything that happened in the past, it was Carlos Linnaeus that said you cannot define an ape in a way that does not include humans without saying except humans. And if you say except humans, then you're tacitly admitting that humans are part of the group that you're describing.
Well, that's interesting. I'll tell you something that I run across. I run across a lot of people that say similar things for their reason for believing in evolution. When I started studying evolution as a Christian, as a creationist, I was obviously, well, honestly, undetermined. I didn't have any idea what to believe, and I'll tell you why. Evolution wouldn't have hurt my faith. As a believer in God, I believe if God was able to create things and bring life about any way he wanted to, if he wanted to uh, use evolution. I believe he's almighty and could have gone that route if he chose. So who am I to say? But when I started studying evolution, I heard all these claims. I really did, and I took them as possibly true, probably true. But then when I began looking into it, I stopped looking at the textbooks and I stopped looking at the sensational science magazines, and I began looking deeper into it, reading the peer-reviewed articles and the evidence, looking at the evidence that all of this was based on. And when you look at the finds, the actual observations, and then you look at the peer-reviewed writings, and then you look at the claims that are made in science magazines and textbooks, I found that there's a big gap there between them, and that the claims are sometimes sensationalized. But what would you think about that?
Yeah, in the sensationalist magazines, claims are often sensationalized, to repeat the word. Um, yeah, I tend to avoid the pop science headline crap. I always, in mice is one of my favorite things to respond to those things. You'll see a headline that says cancer cured, but the dot 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 is in mice.
Right,
You know,
right.
you know what I mean? So yeah, you gotta watch out for the headlines and the sensationalism. And the news is always like, they found the answer to everything.
Yeah,
And then when you read the article, it's like, no, they just made like a tiny step forward in some field. You know what I mean? So yeah,
exactly.
I don't tend to pay much heed to the sensationalism. I do wonder what you mean by like the gaps, or whatever you're saying, the gaps in the research that you found.
Well, like, I can give you a good example. Here's a question from Kevin uh, Staggerson. He says, and I'll just run this by you and see if you want to say anything to it. If not, that's okay. Question for Jagz. Have you heard of the Ashley phosphate fossil beds? They found human and dinosaur bones together. This goes against the evolution theory.
Yeah, I have not heard of that, but I am highly skeptical.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Um, yeah, to be quite honest, I've not heard of that one either myself. I have heard of something similar with footprints, dinosaur and human footprints in Texas, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
But let me run something by you, Staggerson. One of the issues that I can give you an example of, as far as gaps are concerned, and not physical gaps, but a gap in what we actually have, in something that's presented versus what we have as far as proof. I hear it often said that every fossil is transitional
Mm-hmm.
and that transitional fossils prove evolution. Now, the problem I have with this is this falsifiability, because you have a concept in. Well, a good example of what I'm talking about is there was Dr. Cullen Patterson. He's an evolutionist. He's dead now, but he was the senior paleontologist at the British Museum of Natural History, and he was a staunch evolutionist. So I don't want to misrepresent him at all. He firmly believed in evolution, not creation, and he toured the world talking on evolution. And his book was particularly about evolution. And when he was asked why didn't he include pictures of transitional fossils and talk about them, he literally said that fossils can tell us many things, but one thing they can't tell you. Now, this is almost a verbatim quote. one thing they can never tell you is whether they were ancestor to anything else. He says that it's easy enough to look at these fossils and postulate how one form might have given rise to another, but this isn't really even science because there's no way to put them to the test. Now, that's virtually a verbatim quote, kind of paraphrase, but I'm not misrepresenting him. At any rate,
But see, the cool thing about science is that we don't have to rely on what one person said once.
right. Well, what I mean by this, where I'm going with this though, is that Archaeopteryx, for instance, is said to be an intermediary between theropod dinosaurs and birds,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fair enough. You can postulate that all day long. I really don't care. But what they go on to do there, though, is say that they present it as though this is a proven fact when there's no way to test that. The only literal way to test that falsification is a test that has the potential to prove a hypothesis wrong. And if there's no way to test that hypothesis in such a way that you have the potential to prove it wrong, then it's not even really considered science. So the only way we could potentially prove whether or not Archaeopteryx was an intermediary between a theropod and a bird is to have the DNA of all three. Now we have the DNA of the modern bird,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have the DNA of the theropod or the Archaeopteryx.
Yeah, I get what you're
That's what I'm
saying.
saying.
I get what you're saying. Science doesn't really seek out to positively prove things. It just builds a body of evidence. And like you said, things aren't like the prediction made based on the evolutionary hypothesis of dinosaurs transitioning into birds was that we would find something like Archaeopteryx, and we did.
I kind of find that like shooting in the dark because that's sort of a prediction. I'll tell you
Well,
why.
okay, so if I have a dark room and I think there might be a table in there, I can probe around in there and see if I find a table, and then if I find one, that makes me a little bit more secure in my prediction and hypothesis. I have
Right.
not false my hypothesis was falsifiable, but I will give you this: you can't say the hypothesis of finding Archaeopteryx was falsifiable because if we had never found it, then they would just say we haven't found it yet. I'm forced to concede that point.
Yeah.
So maybe my table analogy isn't so strong, but the prediction was made that we would find an intermediary species between theropod dinosaurs and avian dinosaurs, and we found
Well,
several that fit the description.
so several that could hypothetically be that.
Mhm. They fit. That's why I
But
say they fit the description.
yeah, It's- um, I'll tell you the problem that I have with that line of reasoning is that I could literally think of just about any sort of mix of animal that I would want to think of and say that eventually we are going to find this. And, if I come up with 10 or 12 of them, eventually I believe we will find one, even though it completely came from my imagination. Uh, so, the, what we have here, we have like, they say that 90% of all life that's ever been on Earth has gone extinct.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
more than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think it is more than that. So over 90% of all life that's ever been on Earth has gone extinct. And so to come up with any sort of life form that would look between this animal and that animal, I think is a pretty sure bet just because of that.
Okay,
That it,
so we've never found an intermediary species between like dinosaurs and mammals because we don't believe that mammals evolved from dinosaurs. That's not why we haven't found one, but if we found something like that, that would do wonders against the theory of evolution. But we don't find anything that doesn't fit. That's the thing. We have not yet found a fossil that doesn't fit into the picture. Unless you know of one that I don't.
Yeah, well, I just think that the fact that there's no way to test these to really prove them is a strong argument that we can't use them as evidence for evolution.
How could we prove that the Earth revolves around the sun?
Well, there's a number of astronomical ways I would imagine to do this. I know one of the things that the Greeks did to prove that they used, what was it? Oh gosh. I know that to prove that the world was round, to prove that the world was a globe, they used sticks and measurements and this and that, and came up with it. And to prove that I think it revolved around the sun, they used the eclipse. I'm pretty sure that's what they did. I could be remembering that wrong, but
that's probably one piece of evidence that they used to build their body of evidence, because we've never proved that the Earth revolves around the sun. That's not something science can do. We would need literally a camera outside of Earth's, it's got to be not attached to Earth's orbit and watch for a year to see the Earth go all the way around the sun. Then we would have a really long video that proved to us that the Earth, that's just not possible with the things that we have available to us. And it's not what science seeks out to do in any case.
Yeah.
Science is never trying to positively prove things. Scientists love to have their ideas proven wrong. The best scientists are always, like, some scientists will come up with a theory and then spend the rest of their life trying to prove their own theory wrong.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I want to tell you why I disagree with that, because I see evidence that proves that wrong every single day.
Well, that's why I say the best scientists. Not everybody is going to do that.
Well, one of the best scientists that we know of is Jack Horner. You know who Jack Horner is, right?
I actually do not.
Okay. Jack Horner is probably the most famous and esteemed paleontologist of the last 100 years or so. He was the science director for the first 3 Jurassic Park movies. He was the one that I believe it was the 1980s, he came out with the theory and pretty well proved it, that the T-Rex wasn't just, they didn't just have babies and leave them. They actually raised their young and lived in families for a long period of time.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Have you heard of Mary Schweitzer?
The name rings a bell.
Okay, Mary Schweitzer was the one in the late 1990s. She found soft tissue in dinosaur bones. And then again, she found it in 2005. She actually found that working for Jack Horner in his lab. And an interesting thing here, I have nothing but respect for these people, but Jack Horner, of course, being an atheist and being a staunch evolutionist, when she found soft dinosaur tissue in dinosaur bones in 2 different sets. The first one was T-Rex, the second was the Hadrosaur. Well, she was immediately under fire, and he kind of let her be under fire for a while, but they were ridiculing her, saying, well, you don't know the difference between biofilm and biological tissues. And so the first thing she did, she actually earned her PhD while proving and through proving that these weren't biofilms. These were actual biological structures that she was finding. She found vascular tissue, blood veins, actual blood veins in these bones. And not just blood veins, but she found red blood cell structures in the tracts of these veins. She also found collagen and keratin and all of these other biological proteins mixed in with it. And so a strange phenomenon began to happen then. People began saying, well, the reason she was ridiculed in the first place is because even the evolutionary scientists said, there's no possible way these things lasted for millions of years. You couldn't have found that.
Yeah, I'm skimming an article in the Smithsonian magazine about her.
Yeah.
I know. I said I tend to avoid stuff like this, but I just popped it into Google.
Sure. Yeah. I've read all of her works. I could screen share a couple of things here with you that she did.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do you know that she takes it personally when creationists misrepresent her data?
that's why I don't misrepresent it. That's why I give you exactly what she gave us.
Yeah.
So, one of the first things she did was earn her PhD by proving that these were real biological materials.
Uh-huh.
The second thing that she did was she went on record in a paper that she did in 2011. This is the. Let me screen share something with you here real quick so you can see it for yourself.
The Smithsonian does seem to verify what you're saying, that it was indeed soft tissue, and that she found, and that all the other scientists were like, no, you're dumb. Oh, what happened? Did I lose you? Don't know what happened. Eric's gone. Yeah, the Smithsonian says that it was actually, like, she was right, but it also says that she doesn't appreciate creationists misrepresenting her data. So to be clear, she's arguing that the soft tissue survived for 65 million years. That's what she says. And I'm, like I said, I'm just skimming the Smithsonian magazine. I haven't looked really hard into this. I've heard of this, but I haven't looked too hard into it.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. I pardon me.
No worries.
I accidentally dropped out trying to show you this.
Yeah, I kept the show going.
Okay, thank you. So this is what I'll share with you here. This is the paper that she did to earn her PhD. As she worked for Jack Horner, testing the hypothesis of biofilm as the source for soft tissue and cell-like structures preserved in dinosaur bone. And this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that yes, these were actual soft biological tissues. Included in that were blood veins, cell structures that were in the tracts of these veins. You can see the veins in this center photograph right here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the veins. She also found cell like collagen, which has a half-life of 117 years.
Oh fuck! I lost my connection. I just My connection was a little bit spotty. I just dropped out for 10 seconds. What was that very last thing you said?
Oh, they found they found various things like collagen, which has a half-life of 117 years, and degraded DNA, which has a half-life of a little over 500 years. Uh, Several other things, keratin and etc. So
Are,
these were things that were really found. Now there was another interesting phenomenon that happened after that, though.
wait,
Be-
hold on. Does that mean that those materials are radioactive?
no, they're not radioactive. Why?
What do you mean they have a if they have a half-life that short? That's
Yeah, everything. All biological materials have a half-life. Let me pull something up here for you. Okay, still screen sharing.
keratin protein has a half-life of less than 10 hours. Okay. Yeah, I'm just not too
Yeah,
familiar with this. So does she say that this means the Earth is young?
no,
Okay.
no, but I will show you what she says though. That's very
Okay,
interesting.
so who do you think? Do you think she knows more about what she's studied, or you?
Well, I think she does,
Okay.
but I'm going to show you what she presented here because it's extremely interesting. But I do want to show you this right here because this is pertinent too. Um, okay. Now, when it comes to collagen, I could be unfair and use the collagen that's found in skin, for instance. That's only got a 15-year half-life. Or I could also be unfair and use vascular collagen. And chances are vascular collagen is what they found
Are you
because
suggesting the dinosaur she found was only 15 years old?
no, not at all. Um, but what I am saying is that the half-life of vascular collagen, what they found were vascular tissues like blood veins and cell structures, red blood cells. So it would make sense that the collagen she found was vascular collagen, which only has a half-life of 60 to 70 days.
In the atmosphere?
That's, yeah, whatever. But
In the in
that's
the atmosphere. And that's one of the parts that she has issue with people misrepresenting.
no, no. What I'm getting at is this. uh, what I'm using is the longest possible half-life for collagen, which is found in cartilage, and that is 117 years.
Okay.
So when you go from there, and then you take what she actually said in this study right here that we're going to right now. Mary did this one too. This is the important one that actually shows. See, there's a lot of papers out there that suggest ways that these tissues could have possibly lasted this long.
Okay.
But Mary Schweitzer is the only one that actually experimented with this and did the actual experimentation to prove how long we can possibly try to preserve these soft tissues that were found. And that's what this paper was about. A role for iron and oxygen chemistry in preserving soft tissues, cells, and molecules from deep time. Now, you can see her name is right up here at the very top, Mary H. Schweitzer. And in her abstract, let me take you down here first to the introduction, and then I'll go back to what I consider the most important, but this is also important. She says, because people assume that we've only found soft tissue in dinosaur bones once or twice. The truth is, a bunch of it has been found recently because they've been testing it. And we have Mary Schweitzer's too. We have A fellow named Armitage. He found the same thing in a horn of a Triceratops. And then we have this, where Mary states right here in the introduction, soft tissue structures. Well, she starts up here. She says preservation of structures and fossils that were not originally mineralized in the living organisms is uncommon, but it is represented in microbes, in plants, in animals, in disparate environments throughout the fossil record, and references therein. In other words, finding soft tissues in dinosaur bones or in these other microbes and plants and animals and various fossils throughout the fossil record is rare, but we find it. And then she goes on to say, soft tissue structures retaining some aspects of the original material. That means it's not completely fossilized,
Right.
and thus not completely replaced replicas.
I have to apologize.
been-
I actually have to go to the restroom like incredibly badly right now.
Okay,
I'm
dude.
sorry. I'll be right back. Like 2 minutes.
No problem, no problem. And while he's gone, let me just say that this is so far a very interesting discussion. I'm enjoying Staggerson. I'm glad he came on. I think it's a very interesting subject that I'm glad not only to share with Staggerson, but I'm very happy that he himself can kind of question me on this. So I think it's, pardon me, I think we're going to continue having a wonderful discussion here. I'm looking forward to it. And if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask while we're having our discussion, you are welcome to ask your questions to either Staggerson or myself. It doesn't matter. I'm sure Staggerson will be just as happy to field any questions as I will. And anything you want to hear from any particular side, that's fine. And isn't it funny how we get trolls from time to time?
All right. Sorry about that. The doctor swears I'm not diabetic. I must just have a tiny bladder.
Hey, no problem, buddy. No problem. Welcome back.
Okay. Where were we?
Okay. Up here with this paper from Mary talking about that they have found right here soft tissue structures retaining some aspects of the original material and thus not completely replaced replicas have been described in Mesozoic fossil bone as early as the 1960s. So this means what she is talking about is exceptional preservation of soft tissue in these bones that go back a lot further than we knew. In a paper she did in 2011, she references it back through other peer-reviewed papers as far back as 1909.
And this makes sense, right? Like nobody would have been looking for this stuff because they just assumed it couldn't happen. But now that she understands that it can, she can go back and look through the others and find. Hey, this is fascinating. I'm actually gonna probably spend the rest of the day learning about this after we talk because I feel a little bit unprepared for this specific conversation. What I do wonder is what you're getting at.
Okay, well, here's that's a very good question, because I've found some very specific numbers that we can work with, and I'm interested in your take on this. Mary gives them to us right here. You were talking about people that misrepresent her work, and I'm very careful not to do that.
Okay.
What I want to do is show you what she actually came up with. Now, in the we just read what we just read about the Mesozoic stuff that we found soft tissues from the Mesozoic. That includes the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous eras. That's what the Mesozoic is. Those three eras right there.
It's like all the main dinosaur age, right?
Right. So she's saying that all during the Mesozoic, we found these soft tissues from things that lived during the Mesozoic. Now, the question is, how long ago was that really? Now, we have one group of scientists that tell us that the Mesozoic took place like 200 million years ago to 65 million years ago. Mm-hmm. And that represents the Mesozoic, or roughly 250 million to 65 million years ago. So now, on the other hand, there's a group of scientists in the minority that say, no, these things lived much earlier than that. Now, what I'm interested in here is what Mary actually shows. So what she did in her abstract, she says that she used the hemoglobin from an ostrich blood, to test the preservation of... she was testing the proteins that are found in blood. Some of the proteins have a half-life of 3 days. Some of them have a half-life of 9 days. But that's what she was testing, because a 3-day half-life is pretty short. You can do some pretty good testing with that over a long period of time and come up with a pretty good projection. So she used the hemoglobin from an ostrich, and she found out that she was able to increase the tissue stability by more than 200-fold. It says so right here in the middle of the abstract. Okay. 200-fold from 3 days to approximately 2 years at room temperature. Okay. So
so much longer than anybody would have assumed.
Right. Now, that's interesting. And I looked at that and I said, okay, well, that's great evidence. But where does that take us? Now, here's where the math comes in handy. You probably know about half-lives, that a half-life, if you have a half-life of carbon, for instance, we carbon-14 test things, radiocarbon date things, because carbon has a half-life of like 5,730 years, give or take 40 years. So, do you know why we don't carbon date anything over like 55 or so thousand years old?
Because it falls out of the range of accuracy for that particular method of dating, so we use a different one, or we use multiples.
Yeah, to be more specific, that's right, but to be more specific is because at the end of 55 or 60,000 years, you really shouldn't have any carbon-14 left to measure.
Okay.
So you can't really... That's at the end of 10 half-lives. So at the end of the first 5,730 years, it doesn't matter how much carbon-14 you began with. You've only got 50% of it left at the end of 5,200 or 5,730 years. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the second half-life, another 5,730 years, you've only got 25% of it left. At the end of the third, you've only got 12%. So by the time you get down to 10 half-lives, you've got less than 0.2%. So they say after that point, it really doesn't do you any good to carbon test because you're not going to find anything that's measurable. And so that's why we cut it off after 10 half-lives. So let's consider that for a moment. Now, if we take collagen, which is one of the things that we know they found, and we take the longest collagen half-life that we can find, not the 60-day, not the 15-year, but the 117-year, and we multiply that by 10 half-lives, then after 10 times 117, after 1,170 years, you should not find any collagen in a dinosaur bone, right?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay. Now, let's take her math here, though. Let's say that there was some miraculous special preservation that took place, and it was increased, the tissue stability was increased by more than 200-fold. So now, let's take that 1,170 years and multiply it by 200.
Okay.
That only gives us 234,000 years.
Okay, so why does she say that it came from a 66-million-year-old tyrannosaur?
Well, that's because that's what everybody else is saying it is.
So
But
what's her argument, though? Do you know it?
No, I don't. I just know that this is her math.
But
Now,
you don't know
I'm gonna.
why she. So you're not going to listen to everything she has to say and why she came to her conclusion.
Oh,
You're just going to.
absolutely. But I'll tell you what my personal belief is. I think she's trying to preserve her job and her credibility.
What reason do you have to believe that?
Because she's giving us the math right here that shows these things can't be 65 million years old. She's giving us right here the math that tells us that can't possibly be.
Let's look at the math she gives us that says it can.
Well, what math is that?
Well, I don't know. You're not showing me the. You haven't
There is
addressed
no.
that. I've asked and you haven't addressed it. So
there is no math that says it can be that old.
Well, why does she say that it's that old then? What reason does she give? What's her argument?
She's not giving one.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, she's not. That's why I believe that she is, on one hand, she's telling us something that keeps her safe and that will keep her from being fired from her positions and ridiculed. So she's saying, yeah, okay, the T-Rex is 65 million years old, the Hadrosaur is 88 million years old, but here's the math. Now, you see, I find it interesting that she gives us this math.
You're using her math to make your point, but you're not going to use her math to address her point?
No. She doesn't make the point that these things are 66 and 88 million years old. She doesn't prove that point. She doesn't set out to show that point. Let me explain what she would need here. The hadrosaur bone, for instance, is said to be 88 million years old. In order for collagen to last 88 million years old, using the longest possible half-life of 117 years for collagen, you need a 680,000-fold increase. 680,000-fold increase. That's a far cry from 200.
Without knowing much about her personality, only given the evidence that we have already, she's already come out against the standard story without fear and said publicly that she doesn't care what people say about her. But she still asserts that these dinosaurs are old, even after arguing with everybody about the soft tissue. It really seems like you're misrepresenting her.
Now, I'm giving you her numbers. These are her numbers.
Okay, well,
this is her math.
Let's find the part where she says that it's 66 million years old and tell me why you don't believe it.
She doesn't say that here, does she?
Well, people in chat are saying yes, she does.
Well, you see, I don't care what people in chat say. I care about what Mary says.
Okay. Well, she says the dinosaur's 66 million years old, and I want to know why she says that.
Well, I told you. Look, somebody says she isn't a mathematician. She's giving her best reasonable explanation. No, she's not. Let me tell you what she's giving. She's giving right here. It's right in front of us. She gives a 200-fold increase. And that's all she gets. Now, if you do the math like we just did, the oldest any of these bones can be is 234,000 years old. That's used their math.
With your math?
No, that's not my math. Did I not show you that the half-life of collagen is...
Yeah, but you're very clearly cherry-picking this one specific part of
How am I cherry-picking? How am I cherry-picking? Does she give us another number here?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not familiar with this. You know way
Okay.
more about this than I do. That's why I'm asking. I'm trying to Google it on the side here, but it's hard for me to split my focus between you and Google. So,
Would you like the link to this page? I'll put it in our chat so you can have it. You can click right into it yourself.
okay.
Okay. I'll put it in here for everybody. Now, Patty P says, I've read these papers. Well, if you've read these papers, you know that she doesn't give us any other numbers. She was able to get a 200-fold increase. It's right there in the abstract. And that's the best, that's the longest anybody has ever been able to give you. You can't find
But you're
anybody.
listen. You're citing an expert and using her math to come to a different conclusion than she came to.
I didn't say, no, I'm giving you her conclusion.
No,
Her
her conclusion
conclusion.
is that the dinosaur's old.
Where?
She says you admitted that it says the dinosaur is
Where?
66 million years old. You had accepted that and acknowledged that.
No.
You even said it yourself.
I'm saying that she is parroting. She is parroting on one hand. Okay, these things are supposed to be 66 and 80 million years old. But on the other hand, she's giving us the math that proves otherwise. And nobody can show me the math that gives us a longer period of preservation. Nobody, because it doesn't exist. I've researched this carefully for years. Okay. Now, Horsethorn. I'm going to explain who Horsethorn is. Horsethorn is a part of a group called Nemesis. Nemesis is a group of like 50 or so atheist trolls, dude. And I kid you not. They tried to. I had a friend ask me if I would debate one of them one time. I said, sure. And what happened is he pulled up the debate and they said, no, we're not going to debate on your channel. So I said, okay, we'll come over here and debate in my Facebook group. Well, the guy showed up and rather than debate the issue, he looks right past the opening post. I said, hi, I introduced myself, said, what's your position on evolution, blah, blah, blah. And he just blew right past it and he starts spamming the thing with all this nonsense. And I said, dude, this is a debate, an orderly debate. So I started another opening post and I said, introduce yourself, give us your position, tell us a little bit about yourself. And he did just totally ignored the opening post and didn't even post anything on evolution. So these guys keep going on and on. Well, then I invite them on to debate on YouTube, and they cuss and rant and rave, and you just have to shut them up. Well, they started mass reporting my posts on Facebook because they couldn't win a debate, and it was hilarious. Their mass reported posts like, well, Jeff just disappeared, poof, and got me banned for 30 days, man.
Okay, so how old do you think the dinosaur is that she found the soft tissue
Well,
cells in?
What she finds here tells us that they can't be older than 234,000 years old.
Okay, how old do you think it is?
I think it's less than that, and I'll tell you why. Because here's the rest of the story. And what I'm getting to eventually is that I don't think scientists want to be proven wrong. Speaking of Jack Horner in particular.
I don't really care too much about one particular scientist. You know what I mean? There's a body of science to look at here.
Well, yeah.
Once we get past this, I'm gonna start asking you about the other evidence that these dinosaurs could be so young.
Okay. Well, here's the story. First of all, if you do the math and you just did it with me, 117 years half-life times 10 half-lives, 1,170 times 200-fold. Okay, that's 234,000. When you need 680,000-fold increase to reach 88 million years. 688,000-fold. Now, what happened at this point was an amazing phenomenon took place where dinosaur bones began being C14 tested, and there were scores of these samples sent to several different labs from several different dinosaurs, from several different digs, from several different museums, okay? And every single one of them, every single one came back between 9,000 and 40,000 years old. Every single one. So there you have two lines of science saying that these dinosaur bones can't be millions of years old. Not even 1 million years.
But that's not what the scientists are saying, though.
Well, that's what the tests are saying.
When you pull out that tiny part of it and cherry pick, then yeah, sure.
Well, how am I cherry picking?
Because you're just taking the very specific math that you're using to come up with the numbers you want, and you won't even acknowledge the fact that she says the dinosaur bones are old, and then like what is her argument for them being
what I took
old or whatever?
What I took was everything that we are given, the collagen as well as osteoblasts. That she found osteocytes.
Her entire thesis is that these things can be preserved for much, much longer than we thought.
200-fold.
That's not what she said. That's what she was able to produce through experimentation.
That's exactly what she says. 200-fold. Now,
she says the dinosaur's 200,000 years old?
Look, she comes right out and she says dinosaur bones are 234,000 years old. She's getting fired, dude. She's going to be laughed out of science.
She's already been laughed at. She's already come up against the science. You're speculating.
She's already been laughed at, and she's already been laughed at and earned her PhD.
Yeah, so why is she afraid of being laughed at?
Okay, I didn't say she is. Now, here's what I am saying. I challenge you to find anything that gives us more than a 200-fold increase. You won't. It's not out there. I challenge any atheist in the audience to give me anything from any paper that gives us longer than a 200-fold increase.
Okay, so scientists have not yet been able to get more than a 200-fold increase. So there's that.
So that's what we're left with. That's what we are left with.
Just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean that it can't happen. And what they did do is show that it can be preserved for much longer than it was originally speculated.
And there you go. There you go. Hoping and assuming.
You're hoping and assuming that she's lying about it being 66
No, I'm not. I'm not hoping. I'm not hoping or assuming anything.
Yes, you are. You fucking liar, dude.
Okay, well, it doesn't have to come to this, dude.
Well, then don't fucking sit here and lie, dude.
Look, who's sitting here and lying?
You.
Me? Where?
You. Right now.
Where? Don't be a punk, dude. Don't be a punk, okay?
What the fuck's a punk? What's a punk, bitch?
You're acting like one. Okay.
What's a punk,
goodbye.
Bitch? Fuck you.
Hey, goodbye.
Bye.
So, there goes Staggerson Jagz.
Yeah, that was fun. I figured that would fucking go about like that. What a fucking douchebag. Holy shit. Holy fuck. He kicked me out of the fucking show. He was gonna call me names, but then I fucking can't call him names back without him kicking me out. What a little fucking bitch, dude. What a fucking loser, dude. Holy fuck. I'm a little bit disappointed that he didn't want to carry that on a little bit farther. He didn't fucking mute me. He kicked me out of the goddamn fucking show. Don't be a punk. I said, what's a punk, bitch? Fine, okay, go. Where I come from, punk is just as bad as bitch. I don't know, man. What a fucking loser. He had nothing. That dude had nothing, man. Cherry picking math, lying about shit. What a fucking loser. I'm surprised it went on as long as it did. That was a fucking clown show, guys. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thanks for your support in chat. That dude wasn't going to listen to a fucking word I said. He had nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, he kept dodging my questions. I'm like, how old do you think the fucking dinosaur is? And he wouldn't answer. He just kept repeating the same math over and over again. I accepted his math. And then I asserted that he's cherry picking it. And I wanted to know what his argument was against her argument for it being 66 million years old. I think when I told him that I didn't really know who she was, he got real excited and decided that's what he was going to focus on. Because I have to admit, I'm not read up on that. I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. I basically had to take everything he said at his word. I don't really have a choice. You know what I mean? But I felt confident in doing that because I knew that he was wrong. And I wanted to push him farther and see what other evidence there was that these dinosaurs were so Dude, I was so fucking patient too. Like, I didn't say the word Flintstones one single time. You know what I mean? Like, what a fucking loser. Oh shit, I don't know what to do now. I didn't think that would get cut so short. I guess time to go back to working on my YouTube videos. Everybody that's in chat, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Join my Discord. I need more friends. You could all be my friends. This was fun. I want to do this again. That was fun. I feel like I did a really good job. I have a tendency to like lose my patience and get frustrated and flustered. And I feel like I didn't do that too bad. I was really patient right up until he started calling me names. And then yeah. That was about it there. Okay, yeah, that was pretty cringe too. I don't know what you mean by that. If I was cringe or he was cringe. We were probably both cringe. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast now because I guess I don't really have anything else to say. I hate ending a stream. I always feel like I'm leaving the party early or whatever, but stick around the channel. There's tons of content. I upload videos every single day. I will be uploading a video here shortly that I finished editing last night. Yeah, that's about it. He's inviting me back on. He's inviting me back on. Why would I go back on? I mean, he repeated himself like 100 fucking times. There's only so much of that shit I can take. Like, I accepted his math and wanted to move forward, but he only had that math. That's all he had. He needed that to be a checkmate, and he needed me to go, oh, you know what? You're right. Just like a flat earther when they say that a high pressure system cannot exist next to a vacuum. And they go, that's it. Space must be fake. Therefore, Kyle Rittenhouse was one of the kids in the Sandy Hook shooting. You know what I mean? Like, these fucking nutbags. Yeah, tell him I'm not going back on. I'm not interested in talking to his dumb ass at all. Maybe some other day. Maybe some other day. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks. This was a lot of fun. Please join my Discord. I'm trying to get some. There's only like 5 people in there, but if you join, there'll be 6. All right. Have a good day, everybody.